Hello, everyone. Welcome into episode 157 of the Stomp the Bus Show. I'm your host, Mark Harris. And after 8 days of not recording, quite a bit has happened across multiple sports at Arizona State. And, it's kind of hard to narrow it down. You've got baseball surging. They're playing great despite the loss on Wednesday. Softball is doing well. Both men's and women's basketball are in interesting positions. And that's not even the biggest story because ASU football, of course, this was literally the day after I recorded the last episode. Of course, ASU football, Kenny Dillingham announces that they are getting a massive donation for an indoor practice facility. And Dillingham has talked about wanting an indoor practice facility. He's talked about this since preseason camp, right? I remember there was a press conference that he was like, it would be great if the fan base showed their love and appreciation by having someone step up and, finance a indoor practice facility. That was the gist of what he said. It wasn't exactly that. And honestly, you had all these, outside fans being like, oh, he's gone. He's looking for the exit. Wrong. Untrue. Dillingham found someone. This is from these are the renderings. Obviously, you've probably seen it by now. The enormous, it's like 100 huge practice facility that's going to be on the northeast side of the stadium. It also comes with a volleyball facility. There's an outdoor part as well. And I don't know. I'm just really happy about how this got done. And you know what? Like, I'll give credit to Dillingham. Like, when he kind of basically begged for a huge donation at the press conference after he re-signed with ASU and Michigan announced that it was going with Whittingham. I didn't really love that. I didn't love that look, but it worked out. It worked out. It found the right rich person to donate. And so I'm going to read some stuff off from the article from Sun Devil Source by Chris Cartman. One of the largest indoor practice facilities. The subheading is the Sun Devils plan to begin building a massive 180 to 190 yard long indoor football practice facility adjacent to Mountain America Stadium by the summer. They got an 8-figure naming rights donation. ASU will break ground on one of the largest indoor football facilities in the country by early summer. Graham Rossini and Kenny Dillingham said on the Bickley and Murata show on Arizona Sports. Bickley and Murata and Arizona Sports, they do a thing called Newsmakers Week where they just get interviews with all of these important people in the Valley. And turns out they had a good guess in Kenny Dillingham. So this is the quote from him. Quote, "It's going to have a 50-yard football field and a 100-yard field in one indoor," Dillingham said. So it's about a 180-yard to 190-yard indoor facility, which is going to be unbelievable for tailgating and the fun and the experience. I think the most interesting part of this, right, because how did he get the money, right? Like, who is the ASU donor that said, oh, you know what, screw it, I'll just drop all this money onto an indoor practice facility? Well, according to Chris Cartman, the naming rights donors, individuals connected to a company that has a long-standing business relationship with ASU, although not traditionally in athletics, will be revealed in a groundbreaking ceremony in late spring or early summer, with the project expedited due to the significant funding contributions that were committed. It was initially believed that construction wouldn't start until January. So they're getting so much money and so much commitment from this donor that it's allowing them to literally push up the building process of this by like 6 months, which is enormous. Because then it just negates any sort of confusion, any sort of uncertainty. And it's just more money than we thought, right? And so before they were asking for about $20 million. That's kind of what they thought it would be. It's been reported that this is from Cartman's article. The construction cost of the facility was estimated at 26 million late last year, with 4.5 million in architectural and engineering costs, and an additional 4.5 million in other expenses. Donations enabled the product. Geez, donations enabled the project to increase to an estimated 55 million, an increase that was enabled by its fundraising success. ASU had hoped to take occupancy of the facility in February 2028 ahead of spring football practices that year. The facility, listed as ASU's top priority in the university's 2027 to 30 capital improvement plan, will be adjacent to the north end of Mountain America Stadium. An existing parking lot, part of Lot 59, will be converted to a turf field to replace the Verdi Dickey Dome bubble structure east of Rural Road. It would also serve as a, quote, fan zone for pregame festivities and other events. Dillingham mentions that he kind of wants it to resemble the 16th hole of the U.S. Waste Management Open. So the final scope of the project will still be released. And this is a quote from Rossini, quote, "We learned, I'm just all over the place. We earned an incredible commitment from a longtime ASU partner," Rossini added. Quote, "Maybe an unconventional way to get that number, but a group here in the Valley heard that news. They see the value. They've had a connection to ASU in other ways, and they see a great opportunity to tie their name to this football facility." So there's so many great things about this. I mean, obviously, right? I think what I really like about this the most is that whatever this group is, right? It's a group that has relations with ASU in some form. And obviously, like they're connected to the school already. That's been mentioned, but they have not really been connected in an athletic sense, right? And that's huge. So you're bringing in this completely new partner from athletics, and the reason why it's more than just like a side note is it's like $55 million worth of investment. It enables the project to get started quicker. So again, like I mentioned, it eliminates all the uncertainty, all the what ifs, all the why is this taking so long? That's done. That's out of the window. It also shows that this ASU football program in 3 years under Dillingham has earned the investment and the respect of people who are kind of casuals, right? Clearly, like, even though, these are people with a lot of money and like they're casuals, right? Like they're not like, if you're a donor who's already invested with ASU and you're already been in the mix, and for example, you were maybe part of the donor group that like pretty much, forced Ray Anderson to hire Kenny Dillingham, or, that's maybe not the right language, but you get my point, like influenced it heavily. You're not a casual, right? Like you're in the weeds of what's going on. This entity, this person is a casual, but because of the ASU football's success and the turnaround that's happened, and just kind of the visibility of the program, the personality of Dillingham, they decided this is a worthy investment, and they decided this is something they want to put their name on. And to me, that underscores just how good of a job that Dillingham's doing. And it's one thing for ASU football to like win games in a season, that's happened before, right? Dennis Erickson, not a great hire for ASU, had a 10-win season. Todd Graham, all things considered, like he's not getting a statue at ASU or anything. Like, had his ups and downs, had some winning years. Dirk Cutter had a ranked season. You can win games, and that's not what it's about. But it's when you're getting this type of investment from non-traditional resources in the community, that really shows me that the gears are turning, that things are really starting to roll downhill. And I think we're going to look back, and that Saturday in December, when it was announced that Dillingham was committing back to ASU and wasn't taking the Michigan job, I think that's going to go down as one of the biggest days in ASU football history because it enables all of this. It enables the great transfer portal that you're bringing in after that. It enables getting this, right? It enables just more community investment. And I had to send a text. But my overall point with this is like, it's more than just the facility to me. It's the reasons that someone decided to write a $55 million check. That's what it's kind of been announced. And again, even if you had just gotten the 26 million, as Cartman reported, for the indoor facility, that would be awesome already, right? Like that would be excellent already. You get more than double that. You can push everything forward. And this like in 5 years, this facility will be up and will be it will be up and running, and it will be able to be used for multi-purposes, right? Obviously, with the volleyball wing of it, you have the fields, and like it can be used for all sorts of stuff. And so it's just great to see. It's just great to see. And in my tweet, I quoted just like, credit to everyone involved. Credit to Graham Rossini, credit to Dillingham, credit to Michael Crow for having the relationship with this entity already in more of a, general university sense, but for the relationship there to be good enough that this group, this person decides, oh, you know what, let's dump it into the football program. So it's awesome. It's just great. And so I can't wait to see how this plays out. The fact like they're going to be doing 4 months from now, right? There's going to be construction. There's going to be broken on this. And I'm excited to see how it plays out. Like by the time football season comes around in 2026, like you will see the beginnings of this thing being built. And so I just think it's great. And the only there's not really any downside. The one thing is like, man, I kind of wish you just dumped all that money into NIL, But hey, like if one person who has, seven figures burning a hole in their pocket, and they see that like, oh, it's a good investment to support the ASU football program. Well, maybe this person sees it as a better way to, help out with a facility. Someone else might be like, oh, well, maybe I don't want to do that. I'll just donate $4 million to the NIL or whatever, 1 million or 500,000 or whatever it is. Right. Like, so it just keeps continuing the momentum. And honestly, like this is so long overdue. Like the fact that there's so many, I mean, U of A has an indoor practice facility, like almost every Power 4 school has an indoor practice facility of some sort. So getting this kind of checked off and not having, I'm sure there have been some players and might be like, yeah, I don't want to practice in a bubble or anything like that. So I like that. Just as kind of a longer fan of ASU, that like this kind of weird thing about the program is put to bed. So it's just great to see. And I'm so happy with where the ASU football program is right now. And, again, like I said on the last show, like ASU football is just kind of thought in a better position than people would think if you just look at, oh, they went 8-5 after. I mean, they didn't hit their win total, right? They had an 8.5 win total. They went 8-5, but the way they got there was a little bit more impressive than people thought based on the injuries and so many. I mean, one kind of common theme I've seen is like, oh man, Dillingham got Jeff Sims to play well. And so like, honestly, like I think that's kind of I think that's a little disrespectful to Jeff Sims to say it like that, but hey, that's how it is. Like perception is reality. And so now Dillingham can, when he's recruiting Cutter Boley, he's like, hey, like I didn't just get good quarterback play out of Sam Levitt. I got it out of Jeff Sims as well. And so anyway, it's just more of those like soft factors that really lead to a program just continuing to build up momentum. Speaking of building momentum, I want to touch on this. I'm not going to do too much combine stuff, especially since Jordan Tyson, as we know, this from quoted this from. Here we go. I'll start with Tyson. Dane Brugler, athletic draft analyst guy. Sources: ASU wide receiver Jordan Tyson won't be doing any on-field workouts or testing at the combine due to his in-season hamstring injury. So this, like, if you're a team that's not great, but at the same time, and this is what I said, like, it's all about his medical evals. It's all about his medical evals. And so I think we can probably kiss the possibility of Jordan Tyson being the top wide receiver off the board in the draft out the window. Just Carnell Tate and Mekhi Lemon. First of all, like, those are two really good players, right? Like, Mekhi Lemon was excellent for USC. Carnell Tate was excellent as well, and also has the Ohio State wide receiver pedigree. So him potentially being the third receiver off the board is not the end of the world. Additionally, you see a lot of mocks that's like, oh, Jordan Tyson to the Ravens. Okay, like, that's the thing. Like, that's the hidden benefit of going later in the draft in the first round is you're not going to a team that has a complete quarterback quandary. You're probably going to go to a decent team with some level of, passing infrastructure already there. So him being a mid first round pick, like, yeah, it would be cool if he went top 10, but the injuries are, I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I don't know why teams are over analyzing his injuries. No, like, I get it. Like, that's a real concern for an NFL team to have. And if he drops in the draft on the first round, like, it's going to be because of the injuries. That would be why. Okay. So, anyway, like, but if he does drop a little bit, heck, he could get picked by a playoff team if he drops into the 20s, where he could be picked by like the Lions or the Vikings or something, right? And then all of a sudden, like, he's just in a much better situation to succeed right away and potentially not even be the number one option. Which, imagine if you're an NFL team and Jordan Tyson is your second or even lower option in your passing game, like that's going to create so many opportunities for him. So, I don't think I heard a lot. If you look at the quote tweets of this tweet from Dane Brugler on February 23rd, it's like, oh, look, this is a bad look. No, it's not worth it. It's not where he's already going to be a first round pick, basically, no matter what. And it's a hamstring injury. You don't want to tweak it. You have to make sure, like, him tweaking his hamstring at the combine would be much more detrimental to his draft status than positive of having a great 40-yard dash. I mean, if he had a real burning 40-yard dash, then that would, shoot him up draft boards. But he's not like a burner, like 40-yard guy anyway. So I don't know. I just don't think that. I don't think that that's going to be that big of a deal that he's not doing on-field workouts at the combine. He's not like the only guy that's not doing that either. And I think that's kind of just like a short-term storyline. That's like, oh, he didn't do, like, I couldn't tell you who didn't do on-field workouts at the combine last year, So, or I should say who didn't, but you get my point. I just don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Someone who is doing on-field workouts is Arizona State linebacker Keyshawn Elliott, and he just had the third best broad jump of any linebacker. Sonny Styles from Ohio State is just absolutely dominating. He's going to go in the first round. You got Kyle Lewis from Pitt, and then it's Keyshawn Elliott with three other guys at 10 feet 5 inches on the broad jump. So that's good to see. He also had a pretty impressive vertical jump. He's right in the middle there, 38 inches. That's vertical's just kind of an athleticism like indicator. And then, of course, again, Sonny Styles, man, he's making so much money. He's making so much money this week, 43.5-inch vertical. Do they have, as you reported, the 40-yard dash? Nothing listed about Keyshawn Elliott's 40-yard dash, but I think he's doing enough in this combine where you won't have to worry about him like getting undrafted or something. So, Yeah, I don't see anything. I don't see any. This is bad podcasting. I don't know. But regardless, he's doing well enough at the combine. I think any team that interviews him is gonna love him. And I mean, you just saw the way that he played last year. I think he led ASU with 7 sacks as a linebacker. Like that's an incredible just nose for the football. So hopefully this all pays off for Keyshawn Elliott. I expect I just don't think that Keyshawn Elliott is going to really struggle in terms of getting drafted. So uh, good for him. Keith Abney also spoke to the media today as well. He's getting a ton of buzz about his roller skating prowess as a kid, and so I think a lot of teams will like that. I think for a corner that shows the ability to like turn your hips quickly, use different muscles, and just an overall level of competitiveness and athleticism. So we'll see what Keith Abney runs, how he tests in the next few days. I think teams are going to um, love his just interviews and just who he is, and and I think as this kind of what I retweeted, like I think the fact that he practiced against Jordan Tyson all the time will help him as well. And so uh, it'll be interesting to see where Keith Abney and then also Maxi Enoch or what they do at the combine this week in Indianapolis. All right, so done with football. Now, now we get into some interesting stuff here with basketball. Oh boy, I I got, you know what? I'll say this. I'm glad I chose my words carefully when speaking about the ASU men's basketball, their tournament hopes after they beat Texas Tech. Uh, it was along the lines of, hey, if they win these 2 games in Texas, then who knows? And you know what? I actually think I was right on that analysis. In fact, Joe Lenardi had ASU like on the outskirts of the bubble earlier this week, prior to the TCU game, and then of course they lose the TCU game. And now sure, if you beat Kansas and Iowa State, then that'll help. But uh, losing to Baylor and TCU, it's about just finishing strong, just for pride at this point. And I'll say this, like I will definitely be at the Kansas game, not the Utah game, but the Kansas game. I will definitely be at. One, it's Kansas, and also it's like, you know what, this is going to be Bobby Hurley's last home game. It's fitting in a weird way that that's against Kansas. Um, and you know what, if he wins that game, which Kansas is good, but they're not good enough that like for a fact that they're going to beat ASU, then he would have a winning record in his career against Kansas, which would just be such a funny little side note. Uh, like again, this team has been probably a better watch than we expected. They've definitely been more competent. Like they are a competent basketball team. I will say that, but they're just too many close losses earlier in the year. Oregon State getting swept by Colorado. Take your pick of Baylor, UCF, West Virginia, one of those losses. Like they didn't have that much margin for error, and they blew past that margin for error. So that's just how it's going to play out. You're not going to make the tournament. We'll see how they close out these 3 games. But it's the season is basically over at this point. And now all eyes focus on who the next coach is going to be, because even though Graham Rossini last week did not officially say Bobby Hurley is not coming back, he also basically said he didn't say, but it's like, oh well, let's just see how the season plays out, which hey, that was right after they had beaten Texas Tech, so he should have said that. Well, the season is playing out in a suboptimal way, and so it's not gonna. Hurley isn't going to come back. So, with that in mind, who could a potential option be? I haven't really dove into that or dived into that too much. You know, not Jerome Tang, which is on the cover story here, according connected to ASU. Probably won't be him, but it could be another coach that was coaching in the Midwest. And this, for whatever reason, Greg McDermott in ASU, I, there's been a rumor mill associated with this potential connection over the past few years, and I kind of don't get it. And I don't know. So this is I'm not gonna. I don't have the a login or a subscription to Field of 68, the website, but the quote here is: "It's unclear whether McDermott will retire, go one more in Omaha, or even make a run at Arizona State." So I quote this with like McDermott actually winding up at ASU seems unlikely, but who knows? I'm torn on this because he's a pretty good coach, not having a great year this year, or has I'll say this: he has a good run at Creighton, right? They've been a solid program. Um, he's like 61, so he's old but not super old, and clearly there's some level, like there's some reason that ASU keeps getting linked to him. Um, Creighton fans didn't like it, and I can't blame them, honestly. Like, if I'm a Creighton fan, I'm like, why would you leave for ASU? As an ASU fan, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. Like, why would you leave for ASU? Apparently, he's scheduled to retire at the end of the 2027 season, so one more year. Could it be like a Whittingham thing where there's a coach in waiting because they have a coach in waiting as well, similar to Utah, where Whittingham obviously went to Michigan. And maybe he'll be like, yeah, you know what? I want one last run in the Big 12, and I want to live in Phoenix and all that. So like, I get that. And if I'm ASU, I think if Greg McDermott wants this job, you take him, and I would be happy with that. At the same time, I'll be honest, I don't want someone who's in a retirement job. We've seen that before. Dennis Erickson and Herm Edwards. Okay, they're not. I just don't think you're going to get someone's best effort. And look, like with ASU men's basketball, you are going to have to pound the pavement. You're going to have to really turn over every rock to get this program. I'm not even going to say back on track. To get this program just better in a place where like we can expect to make a tournament. It's a place it's basically never been. And you know what? Like as I'm talking it out, like sure, I would take Greg McDermott, but I wouldn't take him without any reservations or qualms because, like, man, like, do you just want to play golf? Do you just want to play golf at Greyhawk and Troon? Like, yeah, cool, like that's awesome, but like you have to coach college basketball, and if you take the job at ASU, you would be at a place that like there's a huge uphill battle. And I know obviously the renovations for DFA, like they're going to get started this summer, but like it's not going to be all completely done by the time he first gets here. And so you're going to have a arena that's like getting worked on and still isn't that great. You have a fan base that's apathetic is a charitable way to describe the ASU men's basketball fan base. There's just so many, and yeah, it's cool you're in the Big 12, but like you're one of the bottom feeding brands in the Big 12. And that comes with its own challenges, right? You just have to play all these difficult teams. Now he's used to a high level of competition at the Big East. And even though Creighton, like, I wouldn't say that Creighton's a blue blood or anything, but basketball is their main sport there. So, like, it's easy to get things really going when everyone is supporting you and everyone is like rowing in the same motion. And that's not ASU men's basketball, right? Like the reason why Bobby Hurley is still here is because ASU men's basketball is not a priority. It's because football takes priority in terms of funding and coaching contracts and everything. So like, we'll see. It's just just from a neutral like I'm trying to put my neutral hat on. Like I just don't know why you would want this job if you're Greg McDermott. I don't get it. That's why I'm much more like in the mind of like, yeah, let's just try to find like one of these, up and coming coaches from a mid major, and someone who just doesn't get one of the better jobs that comes open, right? And like, oh, okay, well, it's a Big 12 job, and I'll take it, and it's going to make my family more money and all that, and that's great. And they'll have to prove themselves. That's kind of mentally what I've been like, yeah, this is probably what it'll be. If Greg McDermott wants to come down to Tempe and take over ASU men's basketball, I'm not going to be super upset, but I am going to be a little bit worried that it's a retirement job. I just am. So this will be something to watch. I Field of 68, like they're credible enough that like I think I have to address this. PHNX did a show about it today as well. So like I guess this is just something to keep an eye on as the season winds down. Speaking of basketball, decent news, I guess. ASU women's basketball, they're at 22-8, which is a great record. Losing to BYU was really tough on Wednesday night. That was really, really tough. And they beat Houston like they needed to. Losing to BYU is tough, and now you got to go on the road to beat Texas Tech before the Big 12 tournament. And like, I wish that 22-8, ASU's 22-8 record was like good enough to just. Again, this was first team out, and this was a few days ago. This was before they had lost to BYU. So like, ASU women's basketball, they can't just go into the tournament, the Big 12 tournament, and like, oh, like we're in. Like, no, like, so it now, granted, if they beat Texas Tech on the road, then things are looking a lot better. Texas Tech, come on, good Lord. Oh yeah, so they're a 6 seed. They're ranked 20th. So like, yeah, like that would be great if they do that. But the problem, like ASU women's basketball has not really shown that much of an ability to beat teams that are clearly better than them. I know that sounds, like, oh, well, of course, but like ASU men's basketball beat Texas and Texas Tech, who are both better than them. And that's a credit to Molly Miller, by the way, that they've been able to amass a 22-8 record while not having a clear, huge talent advantage. And they're just beating, and they swept U of A. But they're squeezing everything out of this roster, and that's great. And it's just unfortunate that like having a 22-8 record, like you still have to sweat. You still have to sweat it out on selection Monday, I believe it is, for women's basketball, on the selection show. I will say, I kind of just thought of this now, like the fact that Molly Miller is such, I mean, she's done a great job. No matter what happens, how they finish the year, like she's done an excellent job. Like turned around the program, 22-8. Like it's an excellent job. The fact that she has such a great brand as a coach, like that could help in terms of this, like getting into the tournament, right? Like let's just be real. Like, especially if you're a bubble team, And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. It would have been, if you had beaten BYU, I'd be having a different tune right now. So on Sunday, we'll see how they do against Texas Tech. But they're probably going to really have to hold serve in the Big 12 conference tournament. Now, for them, it's not like they're going to have some crazy, ridiculous route that they have to take in the Big 12 tournament, right? They'll get probably one of the bottom half teams. So if they can win like 2 games in the Big 12 conference tournament, that's not going to guarantee them anything, but they'll be in much better shape. So unfortunate that they had a senior night where they lost to BYU, a BYU team that is lower than them in the standings. But hey, you got to play the games, and they didn't get the job done. And so now they're they got to scratch everything out to get, officially punch a ticket to the tournament. So we'll see if they can do it. Want to touch on ice hockey real quick. Well, I'll just why doesn't it automatically go to schedule? That's what I'm always looking for. you know, look, still not a great season. 14-19-1 overall. Ended the losing streak at this point, right? Like you're going to Denver. Like I just want to shout them out for kind of getting off the skid because it's been a really disappointing season, and I'm glad that just for the guys they ended their home game at Mullet with a win. So ASU men's hockey shout out now. Softball has done very well so far, as always. Come on, 13-3. Lost to Michigan once. Lost to New Mexico State. That's not great. But they've got some, lower tier teams ahead, so they can hopefully get some wins there. They played a great Oklahoma program pretty close, but looks like ASU softball's in good shape as well, and they're not, maybe save for one game. They haven't really faltered against lesser tier competition too much. So good to see ASU softball doing well. And then ASU baseball. I am impressed with where ASU baseball is right now. They're 8-1, and they easily took care of business against Omaha, UConn, and St. John's. Then they went on the road to play the number 13th ranked Oklahoma Sooners, beat the snot out of them in a run roll, 15-37 innings. And then, of course, they blow a save, lose 3-4. But I'll say this, I'm kind of glad that if you're going to lose, it's nice to see that the pitching has really looks a lot better. And yeah, it sucks to lose a game like that, but it's nice to see the pitching is doing well. And so that's just seems like it can be more sustainable as the year goes on. You just have better arms. And 8-1, you'll take it. Not everyone can beat Omaha. Not everyone can beat UConn. And they're doing it in dominant fashion. You already have 10 plus margin, 10 plus run margin wins, 17-7, 16-6, and then, mostly dominating these teams. So the competition, in this Emoji Bank College Baseball Series, tournament or showcase that they play number 4 Mississippi State tomorrow, and then on Saturday they play number 20 Tennessee, and then they play number 23 Texas A&M on Saturday on Sunday. And I think what I'll say about this is I think they're good enough where we can expect them to at least win one game, and I think it's not excited. I think we can expect them to go 2 out of 3 in this series. I think it's a guarantee that they're going to win one of these games. We saw what they could do against Oklahoma, right? And so let's say you go 2 out of 3. Let's just be optimistic. That means you're going to be 10-2 entering a series against Loyola Marymount, and then you get into Big 12 play. Good. That's awesome. If you go 1-2, you'll be 9-3, not as great, but you'll still have some ranked wins under your belt. And so this was the type of start we needed to see for ASU baseball, and we're seeing it, and it's nice to not have to think we need to make up ground later in the year because we started off slow. No, that's not how it's been this year. And when you've played against, the high level competition, you have looked apart, and you got bats all over the place. Landon Harrison is a beast. New Contradas back. Also, Cole Carlone, Wyatt Halverson, just to name a few guys. This team has some talent, and there's some. I saw it was some prediction software or something that now has ASU as the favorite to win the Big 12. So that's a great place to be. Okay. I think I touched on everything. It'll be next time I record, we'll have probably some more clarity into the ASU men's basketball. Maybe some more coaching names have been identified. Of course, I'll continue to talk about the NFL Combine and how the ASU guys did there. Women's basketball, we might have a much better idea about where they stack up in terms of the bubble for the NCAA tournament, and then ASU baseball as well, seeing how they do in this weekend kind of series they have in Dallas. So, it's sometimes it seems like there's nothing going on, and then all of a sudden everything stacks up and there's a lot going on. And so it's generally things are looking pretty good. And you know what? Like, I'll take it. We've had some depressing shows on this podcast in the past, but seems like, with football, combine stuff, facilities stuff, just overall program stuff is going well. ASU women's basketball, complete turnaround, whether they make the tournament or not. ASU baseball off to a fantastic start this year. So, hey, it makes it easier to talk about this stuff when there's more wins than there are losses for the Sun Devils. All right. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Please rate and review on your podcast platform of choice. And as always, go Sun Devils.